Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, concluding Cassandra Cain month. Last week, we saw the results of someone's descent into madness, and the destruction it can cause. That destruction being to Cassie's character, and that someone that went bonkers was an unnamed higher-up at DC. But eventually someone wised up, and Jeff Johns penned a story that opened the doors to Redemption Road. For all the good it'd do come 2011... We start with Teen Titans number 43, with East stamped on there since it heavily features Deathstroke's evil team of young warriors, with Cass in the back center. After Nightwing finishes a lunch with Slade's kids Ravager and Jericho, we go to Titan's Tower, where we not only get a look at just how form-fitting Raven's suit is, she's telling Robin and Wonder Girl why she can't bring back the deceased Superboy like she did Jericho. Turns out Connor's soul is moved on, whereas Joseph Wilson's hung out in his dad's body for a while before getting stuck in a computer disk, because I guess that's a thing that can happen. Their chat gets interrupted by an attack from a young speedster. Am I that forgetful? I think you mean forgettable, dude. He taunts them by dressing like Kid Flash, then Impulse, before settling into his own identity, Inertia. He's joined by Match, a Bizarro-like copy of Connor that retains his affections for Wonder Girl, which I'm sure she's totally thrilled about. We jump to Belle Rev Prison, where Cyborg escorts Miss Martian to the cell of the criminal Bombshell, whom McGann is planning to psychically scan in order to find out the name of who hired her from a previous encounter. She finds that not only was Bombshell a Teen Titan for a time, she's on a second such team. As in, presently. That's when One-Armed Risk busts a hole in the wall so Cassandra can cut Bombshell's throat because she didn't hold up her end of some deal. It'll all be over soon. It'll all be over soon.
Duella Dent and Enigma, who is supposedly Riddler's daughter, but I'm not sure if that's biological, disable the power to the prison, opening various cells. One of whom, an apparently time-displaced young woman called Sun Girl, disables Megan. Meanwhile, in Los Feliz, Kid Devil is observing a Catholic Mass from the rafters when he's attacked by Kid Crusader, claiming to be working on behalf of God and Deathstroke to save Kid D from the diabolical Neuron.
Demonic-looking kid is with the heroes, church-looking dude is working with the bad guys. There's a lot to unpack there, but that's not what this is about. Hey, tell them!
Robin is woken up with a punch to the face, tied up and seeing Cassie alongside Deathstroke. Old One-Eye blames the Titans for the loss of his children, from the death of his oldest son to Grayson turning Ravager against him. That whole driving her insane with his super serum probably had nothing to do with it. He says Tim should understand loss, like his parents and Stephanie Brown and Connor Kent, each of whom, including Tim's parents, have their own shrines in the cavern they're occupying. I mean, how did he get the clothes that Tim's parents would wear? I mean, is that supposed to be Tim's mom's dress or Tim's stepmom's dress? You know what? Never mind. Slade's whole deal is like, you take family from me, I'm going to take family from you, and informing Cassandra that it is indeed time for her next shot.
Urge to kill. Fading.
Welcome to the only reason I picked up these comics, ladies and gentlemen. Admittedly, they were written pretty well, so much so that I did end up getting the other issues in Johns' run. And speaking as someone that just reviewed his Shazam retcon, I gotta ask, what happened?
In New York, Joey and Rose are having a conversation, as much of one as you can have with someone who's completely mute, when he points out a familiar structure in the distance.
Is that a building shaped like a giant lowercase t? What madman would create such a thing?
Issue 44's cover is a classic scene, heroes and villains on opposite sides charging one another. The story continues with the Wilson siblings entering the curious structure where their dad awaits, saying that what he's about to do, he does out of love.
You're going to have extra broccoli for dinner, and afterwards, we'll watch wholesome family television. Or else...
I also feel it's worth noting that from this issue through the rest of the story, John shares writing duties with Adam Beechin, which admittedly slipped by me the first time I read this. Slade's built this tower with specially designed rooms for each Titan, whereas he wants to test his kids personally, who are more interested in making with the stabby stab. Wonder Girl wakes up in what she thinks is the Fortress of Solitude, to whom she thinks is Superboy, but, well, no. As they start fighting it out, Kid Crusader makes his bedeviled counterpart human again, but says he has to kill him in order to avoid a repeat possession. Batgirl is on all fours as she approaches Robin. I don't know why she's doing it, but I do know it's kinda creepy. Kinda really creepy.
Between imagery like this and how she was trying to recruit Tim after her evil reveal, it seems someone thought Cass had a thing for Drake, which I never really got. Is it because Grayson and Barbara were an item when they were Robin and Batgirl, and someone thinks that it has to be followed up with their successors? This is why I hate fan-shipping people!
Anyway, she intends to inject Drake with the same drug that's screwing with her own head, but they're interrupted when the Wilsons crash through the wall, and Cassie goes after Ravager. Tim tells his new teammate about her dad's manipulation, which Slade is all like, hey man, no spoilers, but, with his fists. Jericho stabs his dad through the back, which you'd think would kill him, but of course it doesn't. Meanwhile, Raven is psychologically tortured, Cyborg is disassembled, Megan's flesh is being boiled. No one's really having a great day. Sungirl and Inertia back up Slade by knocking back his kids, but orders them to fall in line. They don't notice that Robin manages to free himself with a stray Batblade, but Cassandra does. As it happens, Drake had planned for the possibility of Deathstroke's serum being addictive, and Rose succumbing to it again. So he developed a counter serum, which he manages to use on his Bat sister. A laser light show plays around her head while Tim boils everything she's done since 1 year later down to Slade's revenge plan. Cass confirms it all, saying she remembers being drugged and used, and intends to kill the man responsible.
Rising?
2 steps forward and 1 step back, I guess. Still, it's better than some stories I've read where they take 5 steps back and then French kiss an electrical socket.
Issue number 45. When Slade says you can't stay up past 10:30, you can't stay up past 10:30! Batgirl wastes no time tackling Slade, who says she's just ungrateful for the restoration of her true nature as a murderer, and is backed up by Jericho possessing Inertia. It doesn't go as planned, and weird thing, he orders Sungirl to find Batgirl and Robin, so instead of attacking Deathstroke further, Cass just up and disappeared between panels. Weird. Raven is still being knocked around by the self-professed daughters of Joker and Riddler, when Duella says she joined the Titans East because they asked. Ray offers her a place on the Teen Titans proper, and 1 punch to Riddle Chick later she accepts, ready to help fight her former boss. First order of business is to rescue Cyborg by having his captor relive losing his arm. Ow! While Megan and Kid Not Devil help each other escape, though it seems to have left Kid Crusader at the mercy of the demon essence he extracted earlier. Tim and Cass help fight Match, but more decisive is when Sandsmark belts him through a wall. The other 4 Titans reach the shore, only for more of their foes to regroup as well, with Batgirl going after Risk.
Oh, really? You have the best martial artist around, and you have her go after the one-armed dude? That just seems extra unfair. I mean, sure, I don't really know anything about Risk, but still.
The fight hits some personal chords with certain members, such as McGann, allegedly the cause of some catastrophe in the future Sungirl and Inertia come from, and Wonder Girl's pain at losing Connor, making her less effective against Match. Batgirl's aid of Kid Devil leaves her vulnerable to Risk's kick to the back of her head, leaving Robin alone in the fight. Meanwhile, Slade really plays dirty by saying he basically used Rose as revenge against the Titans for costing him his sons that would carry on his name. But it was also Inertia could knock her out. And I know he's a professional assassin, but still, man, words hurt. The Titans East gather the teen heroes all together, waiting for the Wilson kids to wake up so they can watch them all die at once. But serious opposition arrives in the form of some classic Titans, with Raven, Sai, and Duella joined by Nightwing, Troya, Beast Boy, and the Flash.
Though they're just one Tamarian warrior princess shy of full-blown referencing the TV show.
Issue 46, with a cover that features a pun and two heroes being treated like ragdolls, begins with Slade insisting that every action he's taken, no matter how seemingly cruel, has had a purpose, leading to this standoff with the Titans past and present, who have regained consciousness all of a sudden. The fight has little to do with Cass, so we're going to be trimming the issue a bit. And by a bit, I mean a lot. The Titans East are defeated, so it's all heroes against the Terminator. Batgirl in particular wants him leaving in a body bag rather than chains, but after her attack misses, Nightwing knocks her out to keep her from fulfilling her wish. Slade collapses his tower in order to make an escape, leaving his team behind, and it looks like Grayson's punch wasn't enough because Cassandra's missing too. She would eventually return to Gotham, see my Redemption Road review, and be placed on Batman's team of outsiders. There she comes at odds with Green Arrow over her association with the League of Assassins, but they seem to resolve their differences after a one-on-one. During the event Batman R.I.P. and Pointy Ears was MIA, presumed dead, she led the team for a while.
I might have picked up this title if I had known Cassandra was on the team at the time, but there are pratfalls when you follow a character and not a writer. I do know that there is one issue where she walks around casually in the buff, and I find that very odd. Part of me wants to think that they just wanted to go for the typical cheesecake, but maybe they were going for a stoic warrior type, doesn't care about nudity type of thing. Either way, it just doesn't seem like something Cassie would do.
However, the fallout of Batman's presumed demise had a different twist. When the Batgirl ongoing was restarted, written by Brian Q. Miller, Stephanie Brown is the one wearing the costume. Turns out one rainy night, while the gal pals were taking out some crooks, Cass up and discards her suit and disappears, claiming she'd been fighting specifically for Bruce this entire time, which isn't particularly consistent.
Her reasons for fighting, even with Batman's symbol, were still about her. They did resolve this little hiccup later, when Bruce came back and retconning it that he had given her orders to leave the Batgirl identity to Stephanie, in case he really did bite the big one. Even so, it's another example of a writer maybe not doing quite enough research on this character.
That said, it's not quite as bad as other problems I've covered. Cass would later be seen in the pages of Red Robin, fighting crime in Hong Kong, but not really having taken a name. Tim visits her with this funny moment where she throws some batarangs that end up hitting a wall, opening the question if he's gotten faster, she's gotten slower, or maybe he threw his voice. After discussing some other business, Drake gives her old Batgirl togs, but she still feels Stephanie Brown needs the mantle more. And Cassie just wants to be. Red R says that whatever she calls herself, she should remember she has family. She would later take up the name Black Bat, first seen in Batman Incorporated number 6, but only for a couple of pages. She takes out some drug runners, is seen for one of 8 panels on a 2-page spread, and that's basically it. She was also featured in Scott Snyder's Gates of Gotham, and while she was fine enough there, she felt a lot more like a supporting player rather than a main character. Her last appearance was, again, in Red Robin, working with Drake on one of his cases, which involved saving him from some non-consensual advances, then stabbing him from behind.
Stop it, DC! Your fake outs and teases aren't fun anymore! Just stop it! Stop!
It was actually a feint to gain access to a mysterious bunker, but my point still stands. In return, Red Robin tried helping her catch a lethal 10-year-old assassin called Cricket. It doesn't go well.
And that was the last we saw of Cassandra Cain. You don't count.
Over the years, this unassuming teenager, full of surprises and fighting a dark past, had many strengths but a fair share of weaknesses. Rivals became friends. She came at odds with members of her surrogate and biological families, and sought to become her own person. I think the biggest tragedy with this character is that just as she was coming into her own, executive mandates again got in the way and forced something no one wanted or asked for. The potential of great future stories building on her experience torn asunder, with false promises that she'll be just the same, just as good, as long as she's almost entirely changed. Changed by misguided writing. I'm unconvinced, but only because DC's previous years of failure and stupidity rightfully overshadowing any mild quality they might have accidentally achieved. And this isn't helped when I see certain writers basically infantilizing the character. But hey, that's only infantilized if you compare it to, the first time this stuff happened.
Thank you for joining me for Cassandra Cain Month, a partial look at this Batgirl's history and milestones. Of course, there's more to look at in her unjustly discarded journey, and you can look into it yourself by visiting a comic shop, a convention, or online scans. Maybe I'll even review more installments of her title in the future. I'm the Angry Spork. Man, have I got issues.